Hello everyone, you are watching The Global Intellectual. Today, we are going to discuss yet another country in Asia which has a very important geostrategic location. That country is Iran. The story we are going to cover today is about the Iranian Revolution. How does a king who has the backing of all the Western countries end up getting dethroned? How does this revolution change the geopolitical equations of the Middle East? And what are the consequences of this revolution for Iran? If you want the answers to all of these questions, don't forget to watch this video till the very end. So, without further ado, let's begin. Now, Iran is a very interesting country for two prominent reasons. Reason number one, Iran is a Shia majority country. Islam as a religion, it has many sects, but the two most prominent sects of Islam are Sunni Islam and Shia Islam. Saudi Arabia, for example, is a Sunni majority country, while Iran, on the other hand, is a Shia majority country. Moreover, Iran sits directly above the Strait of Hormuz, through which about 30% of the world's oil supply passes. Iran itself is home to about 10% of the world's proven oil reserves. Wait, did someone just say oil? Yes, Uncle Sam heard that. Iran, yet again, like Afghanistan, is going to become a playground between the Russians and the Americans. So, without further ado, let's jump straight into the story about the Iranian Revolution. The story of the Iranian Revolution cannot be told without mentioning the revolution of 1905. Back in that time, Iran was ruled by a monarchy called the Qajar regime. The peasants, along with the ulema, came together to establish a constitution and a parliament in Iran. Iran, for all practical purposes, became a constitutional monarchy. However, still the monarchy held a lot of power with itself. There was no strong, powerful alternative government to the monarchy. Hence, in 1925, a new person came up. He was a general in Iran's army. His name was Reza Shah. Now, Reza Shah was successful in his coup attempt. He was able to dethrone the king of Iran and he declared himself as the Shah of Iran. However, as soon as he came to power, he decided to quote unquote westernize Iran. He abolished several Sharia laws and even went forward to ban the hijab, which is a headscarf that is usually worn by Muslim women. This was met with resistance by the ulema, but was not enough to dethrone him. Now you must understand one significant point. Whenever you rule a country that has had a very significant religious background, you cannot make such abrupt changes. Reason being that the ulema or the religious clerics, they have significant interests and influence there. As soon as you do this, their influence kind of reduces and hence they will revolt. Now let's look at Akbar, for example. He bestowed upon himself the title of Zille-Ilahi, which literally translates to the shadow of Allah. Now any statement against the religion effectively becomes a statement against the monarch. And at that time, any statement against the monarch was a statement against the state and was punishable by death. Hence, both the religious clerics and the monarch gave social validation to each other. When you bring about abrupt changes, you affect the influence of the other party and they will quite naturally revolt. Since 1901, the British were operating an oil company in Iran. This was the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company. By far, this was the most profitable British company in the world at that time. However, in 1950s, things changed. Iran had a new prime minister. His name was Mohammad Mossadegh. Mossadegh argued that the resources of a country should be solely controlled by its people. Hence, he went forward to nationalize this company. This made him a national hero in Iran. However, the British accused him of stealing. Now, it is notable to remember that the 1950s is an era where the Cold War had just begun. The British successfully convinced the Americans that Mossadegh was a communist. Hence, the MI6 along with CIA orchestrated a successful coup against Mossadegh. Because of this, probably Iran's only truly democratically elected government was disposed. In 1941, after the World War, the Shah abdicated. His son, Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi, succeeded him on the throne. Just like his father, Muhammad Reza Shah Pahlavi too was an autocrat and a firm believer in westernization and modernization. He started something called the White Revolution, which was nothing but a top down approach by the monarchy to westernize Iran. To a large extent, the White Revolution was a success. Economic growth increased in Iran, oil sales shot up, and the overall education in Iran improved. However, there were still many people who opposed this change, one of whom was Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. Khomeini was primarily against this change because, according to him, this gave far too many rights to women, including the right to vote. Pahlavi had abolished the two-party system in Iran, and now there was only one party operating in the country. Effectively, this meant more power and control in the hands of the monarch. Khomeini blamed Pahlavi for the blatant abuse of the constitution and selling oil to Israel. Yes, there was economic growth in Iran, but the benefits of the same had not reached most of the people. Hence, the people decided to protest on the streets of Tehran to overthrow a corrupt regime. Most of the people who were protesting might not have fundamentally wanted an Islamic regime in Iran. Most of them might just be there because of income inequality and the lack of proper job opportunities. Pahlavi never understood why so many people were protesting against him in the first place. He thought that he could hold on to power by delivering on his promise of economic prosperity. He thought that the communists were orchestrating this coup attempt against him and hence made a mistake. This mistake cost him his throne. He ordered his police to shoot at the protesting people. Each time people died, more people joined the protests, and this eventually cost him his throne. On the 16th of January 1979, the Shah left Iran on the pretext that he was going abroad to cure his cancer. At that time, Khomeini was living in exile in the neighboring country of Iraq. As soon as the Shah left, Khomeini came back to Iran. He received a hero's welcome. He declared himself as the supreme leader of Iran. As soon as the Ayatollah came into power, there was growing resentment amongst the Iranians against the West. They felt that the West was interfering with their religion and their culture. This was one of the major reasons that led to the hostage crisis of the US Embassy in Tehran. Today's Iran, in one sense, is a democracy, and in one sense, it is not. It may be perceived as a democracy because it holds elections almost every term. However, it is important to note that Iran has this one center of power, that is the Ayatollah. The Ayatollah can veto almost every decision that is made by the Iranian government. Moreover, even the candidates who stand for the post of the Prime Minister can be accepted or rejected solely on his discretion. This revolution completely changed Iran. From being a pro-West country, Iran became a truly Islamic country. I guess be it Afghanistan or Iran, it teaches the West one very important lesson. A lesson I don't think the West has learned yet. The Western countries want to impose their ideas of freedom and democracy to every country in the world. I don't think that these ideas are wrong. I, in fact, am a strong supporter of freedom and democracy. But the way the West goes about it is completely wrong. The West must understand that the countries they are trying to impose their ideals on are civilizational states that date back thousands of years. They have strong cultural and religious reasons because of which they do things in the way they do it. Hence, bringing abrupt changes just for short-term geopolitical benefits will lead to nothing but revolt. And this would just mean playing in the hands of Russia and China. If the West must bring a positive change, it must do it gradually with the help of education and diplomacy. So, that is it for today. If you did learn something new and like this video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Also do follow us on Instagram to get regular updates about our channel. I'll leave a link to my page down in the description below. I'll see you again next week with another video on geopolitics. Till then, goodbye and Jai Hind.